Welcome to Hometown Salutes. My name is Sherry Kendall. Today we have a Fayette County veteran, Garrie Woolery. Welcome, Garrie, to our show.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? What branch of service were you in, and what years?
Okay. First thing I'd like to say, I'm very honored for you to have me here in front of Fayette County and Hometown Salutes. And I grew up in Riley, Ohio, and it's about 7 miles below Oxford, Ohio. And born and raised there. Went to Riley High School. Had 18 seniors, real small school. This is in 1967 I graduated. Got drafted in the Army. Right after that, when the Vietnam era was going on. And in basic training and AIT, I went through. Basic training was really hard. I mean, it was tough. But I was pretty well physically fit because I was an athlete in school. Played all sports, so it wasn't really that bad. It was just, learning all the stuff. But then I went through AIT, Advanced Individual Training. And at the end of that, they said, we got our orders after basic training to go to AIT. And they said, you're going to be 11 Bravo. I go, yeah, what's 11 Bravo? And they said, that's infantry. And I go like, what? And I said, what's infantry? And they said, well, that's the same stuff you went through for 8 weeks. You're going to go through for another 8 weeks. So I went to basic training at Fort Gordon, Georgia, and then I went to Fort McCullough, Alabama for AIT, infantry AIT. And then after that, at the end of the training, the whole company, because we were ready to go to Vietnam, and I was drafted during the Vietnam era. And the whole company that I was in went to Vietnam except 5 of us, and they sent us to Germany. And honestly, I was heartbroken because I'd been with these guys for 16 weeks, and I wanted to go to Vietnam so bad, but they didn't send me. So I went to Germany, and I was drafted for 2 years. So as we're approaching my 2-year enlistment, and I thought, and I really liked the military. And I made sergeant in 1 year, which is kind of unheard of. So I was on an observation post out on the east-west German border camp. And the brigade, the regimental commander flew in to inspect. It's full-bird colonel. Mm-hmm. Landed with his helicopter. And he checked us all out and, had East German and Russian soldiers walking out there. This is when they had the fence with the mines and the German soldiers, and we're giving spot reports. And he inspected my little crew there, and everything was really good. No deficiencies noted. So he took me out there, and he said, you're a pretty good sergeant. He said, how much time you got left in the Army? And I said, sir, I got 21 days left. I'm a short timer. So, I was going back home to Riley, Ohio, and I was working in a Pillsbury Doughboy factory in Hamilton before I went. I was going to go back and make Pillsbury dough, And he just talked to me. He said, if you really like what you're doing, and I did. I really liked what I was doing. And it was just something about serving my country I really liked. And he just talked to me. He said, you can go back home and live a good life and be bored and look across the fence and see your neighbor's garden. He'll see your garden. He said, but I kind of really get the sense that, you really have got your heart in this. And I said, well, I do. I said, I just love being a soldier. He said, you ever think about re-enlisting? So the company commander had been on me about re-enlisting because I was a short timer. And I said, nah, I ain't staying in. I'm going on. I'm a short timer. So after he flew out, and I sat there and thought about it. So that afternoon, we had the old landline that you had to ring up, ring a ding ding, the old combo lines. I called back here and I said, tell the first sergeant company commander that I think I'm going to re-enlist tomorrow when I come back. So the company commander called me. He says, hey, I'll come out and get you tonight and bring a replacement. I said, no, you won't. I said, I'm on duty here with my crew, with my team, and you're not relieving me. My job is with them. So next morning I went in and I wanted to re-enlist for Vietnam. And they wouldn't let me because they said our unit was short of people, so I had to re-enlist for PDA, which means President Duty Assignment. But they said, go ahead and re-enlist, do another, year and a half here, and then when you leave here, you'll get orders to go to Vietnam. I'm like, yes, so I re-enlisted, stayed there for the remainder of that tour, and then I got orders for Fort Carson, Colorado. I'm like, what? And everybody in the unit was getting orders to Vietnam. I just couldn't get orders to Vietnam. So I got orders for Fort Carson, and you got to understand, the whole time I was in Germany, I was putting in a request which is called a 1049, and that was a request for transfer. And I always put down Vietnam, and it would come back, disapproved. And I didn't know why. So I went to Fort Carson, Colorado, and did 2 years there. And then I got orders for Korea. I'm like, are you kidding me? But at that time, I got orders for Korea. Vietnam ended. So I went to Korea, and there was 2 conflict areas in the world at that time, and one was Vietnam, and one was Korea.
Oh, wow.
And so when I got to Korea, down at Seoul, Korea, the headquarters, went in there, and the sergeant come out and he said, any 11 Bravos here? That's infantry. So me and this other guy raised our hand. He goes, get out here and get the Jeep. I'm like, oh, okay. So we got the Jeep, and he took us from Seoul right up to the DMZ. And he said, you're going up to be assigned to the 31st Infantry, Camp Greaves, DMZ Border Guard. I'm like, oh, okay. He said, and so 2 days later, I was taken out 2 days later, being in country, a rookie, I was taken out of ambush patrol in the DMZ. And I got paid combat pay there too. That's the only 2 places in the world that I got paid combat pay. So I stayed a year there, and my career kept, evolving and learning, and
You stayed a year in Korea?
stayed 1 year in Korea.
Okay.
Yeah. And got promoted to staff sergeant in Korea. Then when Korea was over with, I was reassigned back to Fort Carson, Colorado. And I was assigned to the Non-Commissioned Officers Academy there as an instructor. So taught basic leadership courses, physical training and leadership, and weapons and stuff like that. So stayed there about almost another 2 years. And then I got orders for Germany the second time. Well, let me back up. First time in Germany, I speak fluent German because I was there like 6 months, and these people talking the language that I didn't know, and I said, I'm going to learn how to speak this. So I went, and my nationality is German and Danish.
Okay.
So it came pretty easy for me to learn, but I was stationed at a border camp, and there's an old German civilian guy there that he Army contracted to take care of the boilers and, keep the place warm, because the troops at the border camp would come up and spend 30 days and go home in 30 days. Now, I was there permanently. That was in the intelligence when I was in intelligence. So I got a book from the PX that said English, German. So I told Pops, I said, come here, Pops. He says, jawohl. I said, so I told him the book. I want to learn how to speak German. He goes, okay. So each day he would teach me not a word, but a whole sentence. So he'd come in a day and he goes, Geria, call me Geria, Geria, instead of Gary. So he'd say, Geria, kommen Sie hier. That means come here. And he'd say, heute du sprichst. Today you say, ich habe Hunger. I am hungry. So I'd repeat it. So all day I'd walk around. Ich habe Hunger. I go, everybody's, what are you talking about, Woolery? I said, ich habe Hunger. So I would remember that. So the next day he would, teach me a phrase. So like 6 months, I was speaking pretty good German, So, okay, now from that, let's flip forward.
All right.
So I went back to Germany the second time. And at that time, I was in the armored unit, tanks. And I was the headquarters tank section leader. So that's 3 tanks, in the headquarters tank section. So I really loved that job. Boy, it's great. But I was in a headquarters company. So, we went to tank gunnery and qualified the tanks. And that people don't understand about being in the armored or being in the infantry. That's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff you do. It's a lot of stuff you got to know. And it ain't like just getting on a tank. My sergeant major said, tanks were designed by geniuses to be operated by idiots. And he's exactly right, But on a tank, just to move a tank, to drive a tank, that's 54 tons of steel, 57 tons combat loaded. So if you ain't going the right way, some bad stuff can happen. So when you're out there on the battlefield going, boom, boom, it's a lot of coordination in the tank team. You've got a tank commander, a tank gunner, a tank driver, and a tank loader. It's the 4 guys in the tank. And you're moving down the road at a good speed, clipping on, and the tank commander's giving commands, gunner, help, and a tank. Now, what that means, gunner, you got to be looking for, and when he says help, that means a hard target, like a Jeep or a tank or something like that. And that tells the gunner what round to grab and throw in there. And then when the gunner says up, that means he's sighted on it. Fire! And it's a lot of stuff. But I was in the armor, really enjoyed that. And then I got orders for.
So how long were you in that?
I was in that unit for 3 years.
Okay.
In that unit for 3 years.
Okay.
But during that 3-year time, excuse me, while I was in Germany, I got orders for the infantry advanced course in Fort Benning, because my primary infantry was MOS was infantry.
Okay.
So I left Germany, left my wife and little boy there, and went to Fort Benning, Germany for 3 months for infantry advanced course, and graduated with that with honors. Came back to Germany, and the guy that I had left in charge of my tank section had ruined it. All 3 tanks were broken down. I was so mad. So I was like, I'm gonna kill him, So I'm pretty hardcore, So this is where my career really started changing and doing some crazy stuff. And I'm not bragging. This is just what happened in my career. I came back the first day I reported in, and the company commander said, Sergeant Woolery, I need to talk to you. I said, where's the tank section leader at? I'm not going to mention names, but where's he at? I'm going to kill him. He goes, calm down. He said, the tanks will take care of you. He said, I need to talk to you. And I went in his office. He said, Sergeant Woolery said, you're going to be the executive officer of my company. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, do you mind? I'm not doing that. He goes, you're going to be the executive officer of this company. Now, you got to understand, the executive officer of a company is the second in command. And that is a senior first lieutenant's job. And I was just a staff sergeant. And I brought a picture in there, you guys can see, of Stars and Stripes photo, news article of that. But I said, sir, that's a senior lieutenant's job, and I'm just a staff sergeant. He goes, I don't care, we fired the lieutenant, and you're a good soldier, so I want you to do the job. And a colonel has already said it's okay. I'm like, oh, God, you're kidding me. So anyway, long story short, and I kept telling him, I said, I'm not doing it. He said, do you understand what I'm telling you? He said, watch my lips. At no time will they leave my face. You're going to be the executive officer. I'm giving you an order. And as a good soldier, I said, yes, sir. I was like, okay. So I became the executive officer of the company. Did a real good job. And it was very challenging being an officer's capacity and being a sergeant's rank. But the troops really respected me. And during that time frame, I also had a company softball team. We went and won the community championship too. So that's one of the other things I did. I did a lot of stuff. So one day the company commander called me back in his office. This is after like 2 years being on the job. He said, Sergeant Woolery said, the battalion commander needs to talk to you, Colonel Goldsmith. I go, about what? He said, go up and see the battalion commander. I go, oh, God. So I went up to the battalion, and knocked on the door. He says, come in, Sergeant Woolery. Sir. Sergeant Woolery reports at ease. So he tells me, And the battalion sergeant major was there, Sergeant Major Day. He says, Sergeant Woolery, he said, I want you to be the acting command battalion sergeant major. I said, what? Are you kidding me? I said, I'm a staff sergeant. That is an E9 job. He goes, we're getting ready to go to AT&T, combat readiness testing for the whole unit, and we have to pass. And all the first sergeants, we had 5 companies, all the first sergeants down to companies are, got their companies ready to go, and I don't want to take a first sergeant out there to be the acting sergeant major. I want you to do that. I said, look, sir, I said, I'm a staff sergeant. They're going to laugh at me. They're not going to listen to me. And he goes, I've already talked to all 5 of them, and they said that they would support you 100% totally to be the acting command battalion sergeant major. I'm like, holy crap. Excuse my language. So, a few other choice words. But anyway, so I took on that job as the battalion acting command sergeant major. Then I did that for 3 months, and then I got the sergeant major, and I'm like, whew, went back to the company. So then the brigade sergeant major called me up, Sergeant Major Cummings, and he said, I'm going to recommend you. This is something else I did that was, they kept giving me all this stuff. I'm like, what are you guys, crazy? Leave me alone. So anyway, he said, I'm going to recommend you to compete for the Sergeant Morales Club membership. I said, what the hell's that? He said, it's a non-commissioned officers Hall of Fame here in Europe. I go, really? So anyway, I said, I really don't have time. He goes, you're going to do this. 1 out of every 4,000 soldiers that get recommended for that, only 1 make it. Long story short, I had to go through all this testing and all this answering, and it's like a promotion boards all the way up to corps level. And when I came back from it, I didn't know if I made it or not. And the next day, the brigade sergeant major called me up and he said, Sergeant Woolery, get your blankety butt up here in my office. And I'm like, oh, I didn't make it. So I went up to brigade sergeant major's office and I walked in and he said, get at attention. So I stood up, and I said, yes, sergeant major. And he said, I want to tell you something. He said, in all my years, I've never been so proud of a soldier because you made the Sergeant Morales Club.
Wow.
So he was hugging on me, we was on, and everybody from the staff came in. They was hoopla and all that stuff. So that was a very big award. And like I told you yesterday, if you fly to Germany, Frankfurt, 5th Corps headquarters, and walk into the Rotunda, you'll see my picture up there as a Sergeant Morales Club member.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, finally, I'm like, okay, leave me alone. So I accomplished a lot in Germany for those past 3 years. And then I went and got orders to leave Germany to go to drill sergeant school. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm going to drill sergeant school. Because I got promoted, and I was a senior NCO. I was an E7. I'd go, because that's normally for an E5 or an E6, staff sergeant or a buck sergeant. So I went to drill sergeant school down at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and there they had me compete for drill sergeant of the year, and not unfortunately, but fortunately, I went ahead and won that.
Oh my gosh!
Drill sergeant of the year for the post went all the way up. So then, when I left Fort Knox, Kentucky, being a drill sergeant, I got orders for Fort Douglas, Utah. I'm like, where is that at? It's at Salt Lake City, Utah. And where they had the Olympics out there,
yeah.
The Fort Douglas, they made that into the Olympic Village. And that's where I was stationed at.
Okay.
Right across the street from the University of Utah. So, but I was an advisor to the National Guard and Reserve. So I went out there just after coming off drill sergeant duty. And I had like 52 men in my platoon, and it was just like, you got to understand, being a drill sergeant is 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, 8 weeks straight. I mean, it's just no tired for the weary. It's a pretty hard job, a very rewarding job, because you're changing people's lives. But anyway, went to Utah, and met my lovely wife on a blind date, and we've been together for 35 years, married, and together 38. And
On a blind date.
on a blind date, yeah, I tell everybody, met her on a Tuesday, she moved in Friday, and she ain't left yet.
Oh my gosh.
True story. So, but she's an awful good woman, and I don't know why she stuck with me. So, she was my third wife, and I'm her first husband. So I guess something works. I had the other two got dishonorable discharges. So, but just kidding. But met Miss Tina, and she's a lovely lady. She's going through
Pretty special.
She's going through a little health issues right now, and everybody pray for her, and I appreciate that. But she's doing all right. But
So did you get married while you were in the service?
yeah, I got married at Fort Douglas, Utah. Yeah, right there on Fort Douglas, Utah. Got married at the chapel, and it was dress blues and the whole 9 yards. And we went out there a couple years ago, and the chapel's still there and everything. And
Oh, it is?
Yeah, took pictures and all that stuff. But it was really, really cool.
So I think
And-
you have a funny story about that, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. All
right.
I don't have a lot of funny stories in the military because it's pretty serious when I was in. But the funny story, my funny story for the military has got to do with my wedding. We had a military wedding, and when the pastor, which was my sergeant major, married us, we turned around and crossed sabers, had sabers like this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Sergeant Garrie D. Woolery and Tina to the world. And everybody started applauding, and we started walking. Well, only two people knew what was going to happen. It was me and Lieutenant Bubba Steele. And he was the very first saber barrier right here on this side, because they're all up. There was like 12 of them.
Yeah.
So we started walking, and he takes the saber right down in front of Tina, and she stopped. And I knew what was going to happen. Nobody else did. He goes, Tina Woolery, welcome to the United States Army. She goes, well, thank you, Bubba. So he dropped the sword, and when she walked by, he whacked her on the butt with the sword.
Oh my gosh.
She goes, I'm going to kill him. I said, come on, honey, come on. It's part of the deal, you know. And everybody laughed. But that is a military tradition to welcome your wife in the Army. So
Oh,
he
that's
smacked her on the butt.
hysterical.
It's funny. Oh, that was hilarious. So, but that was my one funny story.
So at that point in time after you married her, then where are you at?
We're Fort Douglas, Utah. And then I know we only got a few more minutes, but I'm trying to talk to you real fast. Got orders back to Fort Knox, Kentucky to be a first sergeant. I got promoted, first sergeant. I'll tell you another funny story. On the way back, we went down to California to see my aunt and uncle. And Tina's from Salt Lake City, never really been anywhere. And I said, Aunt Chris, give me some tickets to Let's Make a Deal or Price is Right or something. And I took Tina all around the Universal Studios, and Knoxbury Farm, and Disney World, and Disneyland, all that stuff. So she got me tickets to the Price is Right. So lo and behold, we went down there, and I was the first person they called. Garrie Woolery, come on down. Damn, maybe that's me. She goes, go get him, honey, go get him. So
did you win?
you have to watch the DVD.
Oh my gosh.
No, being we're on TV, I'll tell you, I did win the big showcase and everything.
Did you really?
12, yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I did.
I don't know
Well, see-
anybody that was on the Price is Right.
Well, see, this is the deal. See, when I got there, I said, Woolery, you're not smart enough to be here because you're in the Army and things are cheap, And I was in California, so I listened to the audience. The first thing I won was a VCR. And one lady was saying, 500, 600, 500. And so I said, and the PX, you can buy them for $90. So I said, 550, and I won it. Got up on stage, Bob Barker, he said, hey, Garrie, how you doing? You ever watch the show? And I said, no, I don't know anything. I said, I got to go to the bathroom. He goes, oh, no. I said, Bob Barker. I said, no. So he made me sit down. So anyway, when it comes to the big showcase, I just listened to the audience. One person was saying 12, 13, 12,000, 13. I said 12.5. Well, it came out to be $12,720. I almost won both of them.
Oh my gosh.
But they showed Tina more than they did me on The Price is Right. I think she's so good looking. I think that's the reason I got on. So. But we left there and went back to Fort Knox. And I became a first sergeant of a basic training company. Whew. Then I just left there being a drill sergeant, but I went back to be a first sergeant, and I had like 12 drill sergeants working for me. So So then that's where I finished my career, was Fort Knox, Kentucky.
That's how many years are we talking?
20 years and 1 day.
20 years
Yeah.
and 1 day.
Yeah, I would have stayed for 30 years, but up in Riley, Ohio, my father had a heart attack, and he was the caretaker for my mother who was real sick. So Tina went up. I called up the Department of the Army and said, hey, look, I'd like to stay here for maybe another year until my dad's health stabilizes, take care of my mom. And they said, First Sergeant, take the assignment or retire. And I said, I'm retiring. So 20 years and 1 day, I said, hey, put the check in the mail. But I feel real good about the time I was in the military. So it was very rewarding, and I just love serving my country. And one thing I will say is I have a band, Garrie Woolery and Backstage Pass. We play a lot around the city and the county. We've played at the casinos, but we're the only band around that does a tribute to the veterans. And when we do that, we play Taps and God Bless USA. And I have all the veterans come down to the dance floor. We play that in their honor to say thank you.
Oh, wow.
Because a lot of these veterans that come down at that time were in the Vietnam era, and they got spit on when they came back.
Weren't thanked.
When I came back from Korea, I was spit on. And at this time, I just want the people of this community is so wonderful. And I do that every time I play anywhere, and it's a great response. Sometimes I have a hard time getting through it when I see a veteran out there shedding tears. But it's done, everybody comes up and shakes their hand, hugs them, tells them they love them, and they say, thank you. And that's my reward, what I do for the veterans of this county.
Wow.
I have a fundraiser, which we'll have the 14th of this month at the VFW, raising money for the Honor Guard. I've done that for several years. And then I play at the VFW, at the Connersville Eagles each year. We raise money for a memorial fund for Dale Lee Moorhead Jr., one of our riders that got killed on a motorcycle. So I do a lot of things in the community, and I do it with the support of a lot of my sponsors in the community too. So I guess I'll shut up and let you ask me a few more questions. So.
Oh, wow. I mean, I wish we had more time, because we could do a longer show than just 30 minutes. But, I just want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice. I mean, you are one bad dude. Golly. I was just a soldier. Yeah, but you came up through the ranks. I mean, look, you started out as a private. You made sergeant in a year, and then you ended as
an E8 first sergeant.
Wow. Yeah. That was awesome. But I just can't thank you enough for your friendship, and I appreciate you coming on the show today.
The best part of my service was being a drill sergeant.
Really?
That's the most important thing, and that's taking a civilian and turning him into a soldier in 8 weeks. On the 5th week, they have family day, and I've had parents come up and just cry and say, you've turned my son around. I wanted to kill him before I sent him to the Army. Now he stands at attention and says, yes, sir, no, sir. Hey, that's what it is. But that was the most rewarding job I ever had. So, but thank you, Sherry, for having me here on this program, and I'll come see me around town. I'll be rocking on.
All right. Well, sounds good. Well, be sure and tune in next month for another Hometown Salutes. I'm Sherry Kendall, and I'll see you next month.